could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
You have a campaign like Mr. Trump's, where the cornerstone of his campaign is based on bigotry and trying to divide us up.
What he brings to my country, what he's awakened in my country, is bigotry and distrust.
The bigotry and the racism and the ignorance and the incitement to violence that he's been encouraging in people.
The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Well, there's one thing all the smart people agree on, from Lena Dunham to Bill Clinton. It's that Donald Trump won in November because America is a very bad place, filled with very bad people, racists, mouth breathers, the entire cast of Deliverance, basically. Well, political scientist David Paul Kuhn heard that explanation and decided to dig deeper. The result is a recent op-ed in the New York Times. The title of it says it all. Sorry, liberals, bigotry did not elect Trump. He joins us now. David Kuhn, great to see you.
Thanks for having me, Tucker.
I have to say my favorite was Chelsea Handler saying that Trump was so sexist she needs to move to Spain, which is less sexist. Hilarious. Anyway, you looked into this really article of faith that Trump got elected because America is retrograde and bigoted, and you found what?
He didn't get elected for that reason. If you, for example, take the voters, about a fifth of voters, tens of millions, did not approve of Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, but they went overwhelmingly for Trump. Why? Because he was the challenge to the status quo that Hillary Clinton embodied. And
Yes.
It sort of brings up larger issues, right? Because we've seen this story before, right? The Republicans win the White House, and the explanation that's given is that it's sexism, it's bigotry, it's the worst in Republican voters. But of course,
right.
That's the equivalent of, in business terms, of a company saying, you're not buying our product, it's got to be the consumer's fault. But you don't see companies do that. You don't see companies blaming the consumer.
Right.
It's bad marketing. It's also perhaps clearly bad strategy.
Yeah, New Coke failed because Americans have no palate. It's not a good answer. So you make a really good point, I thought, in this piece about basically the current condition of the Democratic Party, which is really weaker than many of us recognize. The Obama years, popular as he is as a person, have been devastating to his party. And you point the finger at his abandoning his economic message early on and instead focusing on health care.
That's critical. 8 years ago yesterday, I wrote an essay for Real Clear Politics, basically undermining the hype about Barack Obama. All the hype, if we recall, was that he remade our politics. He remade the electoral map. But if you actually looked at the data, his mandate, his majority support followed the stock market crash. The issue that gave him his mandate was the Great Recession. When did he start losing the white support that he gained, the historic white support for any Democrat since 1980? It was in the summer as the health care debate began to consume the agenda. What happened to all those promises and those whispers in late 2008 about a New Deal? It didn't happen. So why did Barack Obama then, by 2010, and his party suffer historic congressional losses? Well, it was because they didn't dance with the issue that brought them there. And of course, that's a shot across the bow and a warning to Donald Trump that he has to heed the issues that gave him the White House.
That's right. He's got to make good on his economic promises. Why, I wonder, it seems like an obvious point. I think it's a correct point. There are a lot of smart people in the Democratic Party, and yet none of them prevailed upon Hillary to come up with a coherent economic message. And you see that with a bunch of Democratic politicians. Why? Why wouldn't they do that?
They thought that the making of a modern Democratic president was identity politics. Appeal to enough Hispanic voters, enough African-American voters, enough Norwegian bicyclists, and you'll be the president of the United States because the demographics are on your side. The problem is, for all the hype about political machinations and about GOTV efforts and data on your iPhone that can find the voter, at the bar across the street, the fact is, if you don't have a good message and you don't have an inspiring candidate, you're not going to inspire voters. And that fundamentally is what explains, for example, why African-American turnout went down in the 2016 race, and why, for example, the white working class on the opposite end of the spectrum effectively in droves left the party that long left them.
Yeah. Though I don't think there's any question that Hillary got the overwhelming majority of Norwegian bicyclists. I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure that's right. David Paul Kuhn, thanks a lot. That was really smart.
Thanks,
Good to see
Tucker.
you.